The battlefield stretched endlessly under a sky the color of molten steel. Craters pocked the ground, and ash hung in the air like a grim testament to the conflict between the Galactic Alliance and the stubborn human resistance. Amid the smoldering remains of skirmishes, a platoon of Galactic soldiers, hulking figures clad in shimmering, tech-infused armor, lounged near their dropship. Their weapons glowed faintly with plasma energy, symbols of their supposed superiority. A tall alien with a chitinous faceplate and luminescent eyes barked a laugh. Humans? They're dragging their history books into war. Bullets and gunpowder, how quaint. His comrades joined in, their voices a mix of contempt and confidence. They passed around an interstellar holodoblet, displaying snippets of galactic broadcasts mocking human technology. A commentator's voice rang out from the device. And yet Earth's forces cling to these relics. Projectile weapons! Can you imagine the barbarity? Truly, the galaxy's underdogs in more ways than one. One of the soldiers slammed a clawed hand onto the table, sending it wobbling. Their snipers think they're hunters, but they're just using toys. A single squad with proper shielding could walk through their lines. As they spoke, their shields flickered in sync with their laughter, a visual reminder of their overconfidence. Nearby, their commander, a towering alien with cybernetic limbs, watched the horizon with detached arrogance. He grunted. Primitive weapons don't win wars. Strategy does. We'll break through their lines by nightfall. Across the no-man's land, the human encampment was starkly different. A bunker built of reinforced scrap metal huddled against the hillside, its defenses pieced together with ingenuity rather than abundance. Inside, the atmosphere was calm but tense, the kind of quiet that crackled with unspoken determination. A lone figure sat at a workbench, assembling a rifle with precise, practiced movements. His hands were steady, and his eyes sharp, scanning every component as if it were a vital organ. The weapon gleamed dully in the dim light, its simplicity a stark contrast to the gaudy glow of the alien plasma rifles. Behind him, a commanding officer leaned against the wall, arms crossed. He watched the sniper silently for a moment before speaking. They've never met a sniper before. They won't know what hit them. The sniper didn't reply. He didn't need to. Back at the alien outpost, the soldiers prepared for an offensive. Their strategy was bold, bordering on reckless. We'll cut through their flank and sweep their position. They won't even see us coming, the commander declared, his voice booming with certainty. The soldiers marched with confidence, their shimmering shields humming as they advanced under the cover of dusk. The air crackled with tension as they neared the human lines. Suddenly, the lens of a high-powered scope caught the faint glint of an alien helmet. Through the reticle, the sniper's eye was calm, unblinking. His breathing was steady, his heartbeat a metronome. He adjusted his position slightly, his finger brushing the trigger. The laughter and bravado of the alien soldiers faded into the distant echoes of war. In the stillness of his world, he focused on one target. Game on, he whispered. The sniper lay prone on a rocky ledge, cloaked in a ghillie suit that blended seamlessly with the jagged terrain. His breathing was slow, deliberate, each inhale and exhale syncing with the faint rustle of the wind. His finger rested lightly on the trigger of his rifle, a custom-built .50 caliber beast designed to punch through anything that stood in its path. His calm demeanor was a sharp contrast to the storm brewing across the battlefield. Through the scope, the world was silent, reduced to a single frame. He adjusted the magnification slightly, centering on the alien officer leading the charge. The target's ornate armor glowed faintly, the product of energy shielding technology that the Galactic soldiers believed made them invincible. The sniper smirked faintly. A slow breath out, steady hands, and a heartbeat steady as a metronome. In this moment, nothing else existed. He squeezed the trigger. The recoil was satisfying but controlled. A heartbeat later, the alien officer collapsed, a jagged hole where his chest had been. The plasma shielding had shattered, useless against the sheer kinetic force of the bullet. On the alien side, confusion erupted like wildfire. Soldiers halted mid-stride, their glowing rifles flickering as they instinctively scanned the horizon for the source of the attack. "Commander down!" someone shouted. What just happened? Before the shock could settle, another crack of the rifle echoed. A second alien dropped, his head snapping back violently as he crumpled into the dirt. A third shot followed, then a fourth. Panic surged through the ranks. The once confident soldiers fumbled with their weapons, yelling into their comms. Shields are failing! I repeat, shields are. The soldier speaking fell, his voice cut off by another precise shot. The sniper adjusted his position slightly, scanning for new targets. He moved with the grace of a predator, patient and efficient. His mind was a mixture of discipline and instinct, each shot a calculated decision. He felt no malice, only purpose. This isn't about the gun, he thought to himself as he reloaded with practiced ease. It's about the person behind it. The irony wasn't lost on him. Humans, mocked for their outdated weapons, were now proving the galaxy wrong in the most brutal way possible. Alien chatter grew frantic as their leaders scrambled to regain control. It's a single shooter, someone yelled. Find him! A squad of soldiers broke off, deploying small drones equipped with thermal sensors. The sniper noted the movement with a quiet hum of approval. They were finally taking him seriously. But they were already too late. His next shot tore through the chest of a drone operator, sending the others into disarray. Chaos rippled outward as the squad tried to adapt. Every time they thought they had a moment to regroup, another soldier fell. The sniper shifted again, his movements efficient and silent, blending perfectly with the terrain. He wasn't invincible, and he knew it. Every shot, every relocation was part of a dance with death. But this was what he was trained for, to turn the tide of a losing battle, to sow fear in those who thought themselves untouchable. Alien commanders barked orders, attempting to isolate his position. They sent scouts, called in reinforcements, and recalibrated their shields. But nothing worked. Each move was met with another calculated strike. The sniper was always one step ahead. For the first time, the Galactic soldiers felt what humans had endured for decades: helplessness. Their technological superiority meant nothing against an unseen enemy who could strike from anywhere. They were no longer the predators. They were prey. The aliens regrouped quickly, their earlier panic giving way to methodical precision. Squads dispersed into a grid pattern, deploying drones equipped with thermal sensors to scour the terrain. From their dropships, heavy artillery fired indiscriminately, blanketing the snipers' suspected locations in explosive barrages. Dirt and smoke erupted in violent plumes, each impact aimed at erasing the unseen threat. The sniper remained motionless, pressed against the earth, his ghillie suit coated with mud and vegetation. The thermal drones buzzed overhead, scanning for the telltale warmth of a human body. But he was prepared. Small thermal decoys, fashioned from improvised heating elements, flickered to life in distant locations, drawing the drone's focus away from his position. As one drone hovered near a decoy, the sniper exhaled and fired. The drone exploded in a shower of sparks, and before the sound could alert its operators, he shifted positions silently, crawling toward a new vantage point. From his new location, he had a clear view of the alien artillery teams. They were focused entirely on bombarding the terrain, unaware of the predator watching them. One by one, he picked them off with precision. Each shot was a calculated dismantling of their offensive capabilities. Operators fell, their bodies slumping over the glowing consoles that controlled the heavy plasma cannons. The aliens' communications grew frantic. Artillery teams are down! We're losing operators faster than we can replace them. Near the forward command post, a high-ranking officer barked orders, attempting to stabilize the crumbling offensive. His armor shimmered with shielding, the faint glow marking him as a priority target. The sniper adjusted his scope, steadying his aim. The officer dropped before he could finish his command, his shield shattering like glass. The alien troops faltered, their formations breaking as fear took hold. They began firing blindly into the distance, their weapons lighting up the dusk with bursts of plasma that hit nothing but rocks and dust. The sniper used their confusion to his advantage. Setting a trap, he placed a small transmitter broadcasting faint human radio chatter near an open ravine. The aliens homed in on the signal, cautiously advancing toward what they believed was his position. As they entered the ravine, the sniper detonated a series of explosives he had planted earlier, the blasts trapping the squad between collapsing walls of rock. Alien soldiers broke rank, retreating from the ravine and regrouping in the open, where they became easy targets. The sniper fired rapidly, his shots punctuating the chaos as alien after alien fell. It wasn't just the deaths that rattled them, it was the precision, the feeling that the sniper saw everything and missed nothing. The Galactic commanders grew desperate. They ordered their remaining troops to tighten formations, assuming strength in numbers. But the sniper exploited their density, his bullets tearing through multiple targets with a single shot. Every adjustment the aliens made seemed futile, as if the sniper anticipated their moves before they even acted. Drones began to hesitate in midair, their operators second-guessing their scans. Troops huddled behind shields, reluctant to advance. Some whispered among themselves, their bravado crumbling. "This isn't war," one muttered. "It's a slaughter." The sniper, unseen and untouchable, remained an ever-present force. He moved only when necessary, every relocation calculated to keep him unpredictable. His traps and misdirections turned the battlefield into a chessboard where the aliens were always a step behind. As the alien forces thinned, the survivors began to abandon their posts, retreating toward their dropships. The soldiers no longer saw a battlefield, they saw a graveyard. Their advanced technology, once a source of pride, felt meaningless against the unseen specter of death stalking them. The sniper watched as the dropships lifted off one by one, their engines glowing faintly against the darkening sky. For the first time since the battle began, he allowed himself a moment of rest. He wiped the sweat from his brow, his rifle still cradled in his arms. Across the battlefield, the air was silent, punctuated only by the faint hum of departing ships. The Galactic soldiers were gone, their confidence shattered, their forces reduced to shadows fleeing a fight they could no longer comprehend. The Galactic leadership, cornered and humiliated by their repeated failures, issued a final order. An elite unit was deployed, hardened veterans, genetically enhanced and outfitted with cutting-edge counter-sniper technology. Their equipment boasted adaptive cloaking, thermal dampening, and predictive AI systems. These soldiers were bred for precision, trained to hunt threats like the human sniper who had dismantled their ranks. The sniper, nestled in the shadow of a jagged outcrop, felt the shift in the battlefield's rhythm. Through his scope, he caught glimpses of the elite squad's methodical advance, their movements almost imperceptible against the terrain. They didn't chatter or hesitate. Each step was purposeful, their silence more unnerving than the chaos of battle. He adjusted his rifle, his mind calculating distances and angles while his instincts sharpened to a razor's edge. These weren't panicked grunts or ill-prepared officers, they were predators, just like him. As the first faint tremor of doubt crept into his mind, a memory surfaced. He was back in training, lying prone in a cold forest during his first solo exercise. His instructor's voice, rough but steady, echoed in his ears, *. Adapt. Stay sharp. Your greatest weapon isn't your rifle, it's your resolve. *. The sniper's breathing steadied, his focus returning. A sudden ping from a nearby thermal decoy disrupted the squad's formation. One soldier broke off to investigate, scanning methodically. The sniper's finger hovered over the trigger, his aim locked. But he hesitated. This wasn't about taking another shot, it was about forcing their hand. He allowed the soldier to disable the decoy, biding his time. The squad shifted tactics, their predictive algorithms narrowing down his possible locations. The sniper moved carefully, using natural terrain to mask his heat signature and sound. He avoided the easy paths, zigzagging unpredictably. A faint rustle caught his ear, a drone hovering too close for comfort. He placed a reflective panel over a rock and moved, baiting the drone to focus elsewhere. Moments later, a thermal blast erupted where he had been, obliterating the rock but leaving him unscathed. The elite squad adjusted, their movements tightening. The sniper knew they were closing in. He reached a secluded ridge, its height offering a fleeting advantage. A deep breath steadied him as he set his sights on the squad leader, a towering figure clad in reinforced armor, his every move calculated. The sniper took aim, but the leader shifted unpredictably, the AI systems anticipating his line of sight. Flashbacks hit him like a wave. Faces of comrades lost in earlier battles, moments when he doubted himself, and the overwhelming burden of responsibility. For a brief second, the weight seemed insurmountable. But then, he thought of humanity, fragile, stubborn, and endlessly resilient. They'd survived worse odds. They'd persevere again. The sniper's fingers tightened on the rifle. A trap he had planted earlier triggered behind him, sending one of the elite soldiers tumbling into a ravine. The squad's cohesion faltered, if only for a moment. The sniper seized the opportunity, shifting position again, faster than their predictive systems could adapt. The squad leader barked silent commands through neurocommunication, directing the remaining troops to flank him. The sniper anticipated the maneuver, creating a bottleneck using a natural choke point in the terrain. He placed a timed distraction, a small explosive that sent debris cascading into the narrow pass, forcing the soldiers into the open. One by one they emerged, their cloaking flickering under the strain of environmental interference. The sniper fired, taking out the closest one with a clean shot. The remaining soldier panicked, breaking formation just enough for the sniper to line up a second shot. Only the squad leader remained. The leader activated his adaptive armor, rendering him nearly invisible against the backdrop. He moved with calculated aggression, closing the distance while using bursts of suppressive fire to keep the sniper pinned. The sniper, out of decoys and tricks, was forced to retreat into a crevice barely wide enough to fit him. The leader advanced, his footfalls eerily precise. The sniper had one shot left in the magazine. He calculated the odds, factoring in the leader's unpredictable movements, the armor's reflective shielding, and the narrowing window of opportunity. This would be his most difficult shot yet. The sniper inhaled deeply, his hands steady despite the pounding of his heart. He shifted slightly, aligning the barrel with the faint distortion where the leader's cloaked form shimmered. His training, his instincts, and his will converged in that moment. He fired. The bullet screamed through the air, curving slightly as it accounted for wind resistance and gravity. It struck the leader square in the helmet's weakest point, bypassing the adaptive armor's defenses. The alien crumpled, his systems sparking and failing as he hit the ground. The remaining galactic forces, watching through their command feed, recoiled in disbelief. Their leader, their most advanced soldier, had fallen. The sniper emerged from his crevice, his silhouette framed against the ridge as the remaining alien troops began their retreat. For the first time, the sniper allowed himself to exhale fully. The battle was over. The tide had turned. The battlefield was still now, the echoes of war replaced by an eerie silence. Alien dropships lifted into the sky, their glowing engines retreating toward orbit. The once confident galactic soldiers were gone, their arrogance shattered and their forces in disarray. Only the remnants of their equipment, and the faint hum of abandoned drones remained, scattered among the craters and debris. The sniper emerged cautiously from his position, his rifle slung over his shoulder. His body ached, and his muscles protested every step, but he kept moving. The human command post came into view, a battered bunker standing resilient against the odds, much like its defenders. Inside, the atmosphere was subdued yet electric. Fellow soldiers greeted him with quiet nods, their expressions a mix of awe and gratitude. No words were necessary. His commanding officer stepped forward, clapping a hand on his shoulder. "You did it," he said simply. The sniper nodded, his face stoic, though there was a glimmer of pride in his eyes. The officers gathered in the corner, discussing the battle's outcome. Maps and data feeds cluttered the table, but their focus wasn't on strategy anymore. It was on the singular impact of one man. "One sniper," one of them said, his tone a mixture of disbelief and admiration. "One sniper turned the tide. They'll think twice before coming at us again." Across the galaxy, aboard the alien command ship, the mood was starkly different. The surviving officers convened in a dimly lit chamber, their towering forms hunched over holographic displays. The air crackled with tension, their voices low and uncertain. "What happened down there?" one demanded, his voice sharp with frustration. "How did their primitive weapons dismantle an elite squad?" Another, older and wiser, spoke up, his tone heavy with reluctant respect. "It wasn't the weapon. It was the human behind it. They don't rely on their tools the way we do. They are the weapon." The room fell silent, the weight of his words sinking in. For the first time, the galactic forces felt something they hadn't experienced in millennia: fear. Back on the battlefield, the sniper sat alone on a rocky outcrop, his rifle disassembled in front of him. His hands moved methodically, cleaning each piece with care. The act was almost meditative, a ritual that allowed him to process the day's events. He thought of the lives he had taken, not with malice, but with purpose. He had done what was necessary, but the weight of it lingered. He carried the burden of being both a protector and an executioner, a role he had accepted long ago but never fully embraced. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and crimson, he reassembled his rifle with deliberate precision. It felt lighter now, though he knew the next battle would come, and with it, new challenges. He raised the scope to his eye one last time, scanning the distant horizon. In the fading light, the world looked peaceful, but he knew better. Peace was fragile, and it was his duty to defend it. For a moment, he allowed himself a small smile, not of triumph, but of quiet resolve. He was ready. Whatever came next, humanity would endure. The sniper lowered the rifle, the horizon stretching out before him. Somewhere out there, another fight awaited, but for now, he would rest.